Okay, welcome back. Hour number 2. More fun news. I hope you do keep an eye on that top center column at Rents for the latest news on Fukushima. There's a lot coming out, but it's really of no consequence. I try to pull the stories that really do matter to us, and they're indicators of what TEPCO is and is not doing. And TEPCO is not doing a lot more than it is doing. So we just found out today they dumped 700 million becquerels of tritium into the Pacific. No one was told about that, of course. More insects in Japan are showing up with obvious mutations from being exposed to radioactivity, whether they're eating other insects or eating leaves or greenery, and becoming genetically mutated that way when they breed and produce offspring. We don't know. Then we had the very interesting story about the toxic water in Toledo, Ohio from Lake Erie. Yoichi Shimatsu nailed that, and I think he's got it without question, that the Enrico Fermi nuclear plant is leaking into the lake to the extent that it made the water warmer, and the algae bloom was sufficient to cause a toxicity in the water. Why do I say that? Because the northern part of the lake is at record cold or nearly record cold for this time of the year. So there's no reason that water should be warm unless something is warming it up. Now, TEPCO is also finally admitting after 3.5 years that Reactor 3, the corium, the fuel, entirely melted down, went through the reactor, and they claim it is still inside the ultimate outer barriers of the containment system. I don't believe a word of it. I think they don't know where it is. I think it's well down below the plant. That's the one with the MOX fuel and the plutonium. Then we have, of course, tragic stories which can only be interpreted one way, logically, about the wildlife die-off in the ocean. We're talking about mammals and fish together, all wildlife. Over 20 species now are near collapse. The halibut, the herring, the salmon. Not only did the salmon not come back last year, I think it was 80% of them didn't come back, but the young salmon that were born when those that did come back went up their streams of origin and were able to produce baby salmon before dying. The baby salmon, when they go out to sea, are dying en masse. And these imbecile, no, they're not imbeciles, they're cowards. These cowardly marine biologists will not say the R word. They say, well, something's causing acidification. There's a virus. They're lying. They're not telling the truth. No one will say it could be related to the radiation that's being dumped into the ocean around the clock for over 3.5 years now. They won't say that. I salute some of you folks in Alaska who are involved in the fishing industry. It took the fishermen up there to demand that the fish be tested for radioactivity. Not all the captains, just a few, but some did. And they found out what they suspected was there. Radiation bioaccumulating in the fish. Remember, 80% of the salmon didn't come back last year. We just got word the salmon, the babies, which were coming down out of the mountain streams where they were born into the salt water, were dying. What's killing them? All right? One captain said, this is the worst fishing he has ever seen. It's a catastrophe. Crabs, by the way, up there have turned blue. The herring, the cod, halibut, pollock. He said that the catches are literally dropping off a cliff. There aren't any. They're gone. They're dead. Prove me wrong. They're dead. They didn't migrate down to Chile. They're not hanging out down there, having a good time. They're dead. This is the death of the biggest ocean on the planet, the greatest catastrophe. Japan should be held fully accountable. So should General Electric. So should Toshiba or anyone else involved with this nightmare. All of them.
Subcontractors too that service. TEPCO is just an umbrella company.
Of course.
All of the companies that actually provided all of the technical and other support were all American companies, basically.
Yeah, a lot of the crabs being caught in Alaska, they're all dead. They bring them up and they're dead. So I mean, this is not a joke. This situation in Alaska, which was the breadbasket for fish and seafood, you're looking at right now, ladies and gentlemen, the death of seafood. In fact, it's dead. Look at I'm sorry to say this. Look, I don't eat meat. I don't believe in it. I don't touch it. Well, what's the name of the chain? Red Lobster? They're toast. They're going to have to start advertising that their fish comes from the Atlantic or they're going to be out of business. It's just going to happen.
Or the deep South Pacific if they're coming from Argentina. What happens is all these oceans are connected. Now, what people should understand is what happens if you let this continue to spin out over, say, the next 5, 10, 20 years. Even if nothing else happens, no war starts, no economic collapse, no thinning of the ozone layer that kills the crops and starts forest fires and destroys the oceans. So we're not even going to add other factors. What the first thing happens is weakening of what we call herd immunity. And it also increases the rate of mutation. So if you have someone in Japan or that's exposed and carries, say, a version of, say, the H5N1 or H1N1 or H7N9, the new Chinese or Asian superflu, that virus is going to be, because the host is under stress and has a free radical load, is going to mutate at an exponentially faster rate.
Right.
So we don't even need a bioweapon lab. The bioweapon lab are literally the carriers, the people and the animals now exposed to these things. So you could have viruses emerge from the ocean. You could have viruses emerge that have the human receptor binding domain that are in people, populations that are now exposed to the radiation.